Greetings, bloggers, vloggers, followers, and podders. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with each week's vlog. Today, I want to start by sharing that I am wearing my hashtag Autism at Work shirt, and I have mentioned it multiple times of where I got it from, so I will include that in the description of the video. Also, today's background, as I like to choose different Zoom backgrounds, is from the Joshua Wetzel preservation area of the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. And it shows the town of Confluence, which is a small borough in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, where I was a couple weeks ago. So I was down in the town, but this is above the town and it requires a hike. But I encourage you to, I'll include links to it as well so that you are aware. Today, we're going to talk about autism and catastrophizing. And as one who was raised in a childhood for over 3 decades, I would say that, a lot of times we focused on what was wrong with me rather than the good qualities that I pertained. I had a very rough childhood. I was bullied a lot. I was misdiagnosed a lot until I was 13 or 14. So, I had a host of problems and, you always didn't do what was expected of you as a child. And very, as my parents were very confused, yet they're very supportive and they continue to be supportive. Yet their parenting was not always received by me in the best manner, and as such I continue and still do live in fear of many situations, because I fear when I fear that trouble is brewing, so to speak, or trouble is around us, or I hear anything that has a resounding sound that could be an issue, or I think it could protrude an issue. It is when I begin to catastrophize the beginning thoughts of what could be something is wrong, like that I did something wrong, that I was a benefactor of something that was wrong. And many times this could be something that, in return has nothing at all to do with me, and it does many times, but yet I catastrophize on it. It's not healthy. It spins me in this negative spin, and it can. And if you really, if on top of having that and the medication issues that sometimes with the compliance, that too can be a problem. And so when that is duly combined, it can have a negative spin on it. So today we're really going to focus on is catastrophizing, though, because I have a problem with it. I still do, and sometimes I need somebody to bring me out of that spin that I am in to eradicate the catastrophe that I think is wrong, but in all honesty, it's not. So today I'm going to be referencing a little bit off of this because I wanted to be fully educated and fully aware of the subject. So we're going to look across the pond today to National Autistic Society, and it's equal because I feel that I follow many of a YouTuber called Purple Ella, and she has a quote. They have a quote in here from them that says, catastrophizing is when you are anxious about a situation, and that anxiety leads your brain to ruminate on a potentially disastrous outcome. And she said that on the Autism Show in 2017. And it is so true, because your brain just leads and it spins and it spins, and sometimes it spins out of control to where you cannot control it. Thankfully, I have medicine that helps me tone things down at night and helps me to sleep when I, if I, I've been pretty good at taking it lately. So, I do count my blessings in that regard. You know, we all, as autistic, it should be understood that autistics, both children and adults, experience high levels of stress and anxiety. So everyday activities such as eating breakfast, or if it's different, or leaving the house, or spending time with other people, can be causing of anxiety, and it can lead to a buildup of stress. And it can be in a constant state of hyper arousal, often return to being in fight or flight. and I do often do that, is sometimes it's the flight, or flee. You don't want to, it can lead into meltdowns or shutdowns depending on what the situation is. And I personally have experienced both in those regards. Um, you know, sometimes you have a diminished vocabulary known as alexithymia, or any or different that does, if you don't have the words to describe it, it's really hard to explain it. So it's like, it causes a high state of anxiety, and it just goes from straight to worse right away. That's the best way of explaining it. Somebody else explains that, like, when a manager taps you on the shoulder saying they need a word, and that's very true with me. If somebody says I need a word with you, your brain goes straight to losing the job. Sometimes, you see things like moving vehicles outside of your home, and you think, I'm being somebody's there's a problem, or if you don't get a text straight away, you feel like you've done something wrong. Likewise, I like time between my text, and sometimes, but in essence, other people, if I don't respond to them right away, can be very anxious and continue to text until they get an answer. So it has this double-edged sword sort of speak to things like that. Um, it can have negative thoughts, and they can spiral extremely fast, and they can. And sometimes, if I have that relationship, with somebody, with some of my supports, if I run these scenarios by them, and they don't get an immediate answer, then I'm automatically spinning, and I'll send little blurbs to emphasize, to try to get their attention. And sometimes it just drains me so much that I sleep, and the next day I relive it, and I see it in a whole different light. So it's just a different thing. It's the outside world. It's an illogical leap, but when you break it down, it's often not a totally implausible scenario, although it might be highly unlikely. And Purple Ellis shared an example at the Autism Show in 2017. I've been known to enjoy a takeaway, and with minutes of clearing the dishes, start to worry about the cleanliness of the kitchen in which it was prepared. Then I start about the potential of the chef having some kind of gastrointestinal illness. I will seriously start to worry whether or not I may develop food poisoning. Next, I'll start to research a particularly food I ate, and the likelihood of food poisoning from that food will be how long the onset of symptoms will take for it to develop. You've been known to research the restaurant, investigate whether there's been a report of food poisoning, and so my nice treat turned into a medical crisis, even though you don't even have symptoms. So that can happen. People get into things, and then they start digging and looking, and I do that too. So it's just a thing. And I may have touched up on this past about the irrational fears, but I did combine it with the irrational fears, and I want to specifically focus on catastrophizing. So your negative past experiences. I don't have many negative past experiences, although I do have some. I have good and bad, and I do admit that. But that can lead into thinking something is wrong. It can struggle with a friendship, or not understanding social rules, or we found school difficult due to experiencing meltdown. And based on those experiences, we can go straight to the negative conclusion. Somebody said, in the book, The Asper Kid's Secret, book of social rules, going to 0 to Mach 100 in no seconds flat. Sometimes that's considered by neurotypicals as overreacting, but it is infuriating because sometimes we're told we overreact, and it can be hurt. It can be hurtful to us, and be it really isn't a good thing for us. So moving on to how to help. A key point in supporting an individual such as myself is a tendency such as myself, who has like a tendency to catastrophize and take it seriously, or recognize that they're just telling them not to worry, will not stop it. A vital step is to managing catastrophizing by focusing and reducing on strength and anxiety, such as mindfulness. You know, Purple Ella recommends the Headspace app. Um, Energy accounting is a concept by Maya Tildil, and based on a premise that everyday activities and tasks can be a real energy drain on autistic people, potentially causing high stress levels. Sometimes you need to take time to build relaxation, and I do that sometimes at the end of the workday, to build a relaxation period for myself because I need it. It may be 7 or 8 minutes, it may be 45 minutes, and I may or may not fall asleep at the time, but at least, I am aware that I need that time for myself and not to be bothered for that little bit of time. You need to self-understand about the tendency to catastrophize. You need to know the important steps. Some family, friends, and colleagues could try to avoid by making adjustments to using clear and direct communication with autistics and and help avoid the individual going straight into the worst case scenario. Examining the chain of catastrophe by breaking down the scenario in a flat flow chart and looking at why the worst case scenario uh, may not happen. Trying to remove the emotion and look at the facts alongside using key sentences such, are there any actions I can take to reduce the likelihood of the negative outcome? This is an approach that the autistic person may be able to use on their own or alongside them, someone who knows them. It is important to also recognize that autistics might need support in post-catastrophe. I may need, and where somebody, Rachel Townsend says, I need help and try not to hate myself for catastrophizing, to stop beating myself up for doing it. It's part of me. It's a part I don't like, but it's a part I'm aware and I can control in later episodes. So it does happen again. So being autistic and being in my 30s, it's going to happen again about some things, but there's things like everyday things that have been bothering me that I know I have to get out of them. I have to process them, and I did process them with my therapist yesterday, and I am thankful I did. So yeah, so it can be a helpful work to boost self-esteem. We need to feel better about ourselves, have more positive experiences. We are less likely to catastrophize. A person who catastrophizes needs to know they are not alone, and it is vital to give themselves time to recover afterwards. So with that being said, I want to thank you for listening to this segment. Like I said, I know I may have covered some of this before, but I felt, with me experiencing catastrophizing really bad this week and some other issues, I felt it was important to bring just solely catastrophizing and not combine it with anything like I did in the other video. It's video 95 if you want to look at it. But I believe I wanted to summarize on specifically things, of catastrophes and things that bothered me on that. So with that being said, be sure to give a like or a dislike of this video if you like. Be sure to tap that notification bell if you would like to hear more notifications. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you like. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dustin's Dynasty. At Dustin's Dynasty ASD on Pinterest and TikTok, on the web at dustinsdynastyusa.com. I am also streaming many platforms, including this vlog and other blog posts on my streaming platforms through Anchor and many other platforms, including Spotify. With that being said, I want to thank you for listening to this half of this segment. Thank you and have a good week.